Hi everyone, this is Chang Yong and welcome to the second episode of E-commerce 101 podcast. As the name suggests, our podcast was established to equip the youth with more knowledge of e-commerce, which is the trend in recent years. So in this series, we will have the chance to meet founders, directors, and managers from big companies who will then share with us the knowledge of the industry in reality. Coming to our show today, first of all, may I introduce Ms. Nido, the CMO of Grab. Second of all, may I introduce Mr. V. Quý Vương, COO of Traveloka. And next up, we have Ms. Mai Nguyen, the sales manager of BaseVN. And last but not least, we have Ms. Linh Nguyen, an e-commerce lecturer at Fort Trade University. Thank you all so much for spending your quality time with us. So after the first episode, a lot of our audience have requested us to, have a talk with the companies that are really in the industry. They've been sending us so many questions about e-commerce, especially the e-commerce business model. So Ms. Nido, could you please help our listeners to, identify some of the key elements of an e-commerce business model? And I think it would be great if you could give some examples related to your own company, Grab.
Yes, so now I will introduce you the 8 key elements of the business model one by one. First, at the very core, we have the value proposition, which means what values we can offer to our customers. It can be in the form of pain relievers or gain creators. For example, in Grab, we relieve the pain of the uneasiness, not knowing how and when and where to catch a traditional taxi, and also offer various gains like valuable customer support or good attitude drivers. Next, the revenue model. Well, we give to society, and in return, society also gives back to us in the form of our revenues. We have some kind of revenue models like the advertising, the subscription, sales, affiliate, and transaction fee. For the advertising, we can receive money from the advertisers by displaying their ads to the audience. And by the subscription model, we can ask our subscribers to pay the subscription fee. We also earn from the sales of goods or the business referrals. And in Grab, we mainly apply the transaction fee revenue model, which means that we get a cut out of every transaction executed on our platform. And the commission fee can go up to 20%, which is quite high. And we have received some criticism for it. But we got the lead, right?
Yeah, probably all of us gotta live. But it seems like there are so many kinds of revenue models. Then how do we know which one is suitable for our company, like this podcast, for example?
Well, for this podcast, I think that you must be quite popular with young people. So the advertising model might be suitable as you can display the sponsors' advertisements to your audience and earn the commission for it. And also, I think that we can also apply the subscription model with a freemium strategy. You can keep the regular podcast free of charge, but charge a subscription fee, a premium fee for the more high quality content. And I think that would be something worth to try in the future.
I see. Freemium strategy like the one Spotify implemented, right? So
Yes,
what are the next elements that you want to kind of share with us?
The next element is the market opportunity, which is the market space that we want to operate in, and we can get financial benefits from it. But it's important to remember that it must be realistic. So instead of aiming at the whole big market, we must divide them into smaller niches and just aim at one or some of them only. And in that market space, there's also the competitive environment consisting of various competitors, both indirect and direct. For example, Grab has to compete with Bear or Gojek or Now, and that's really tough.
Yeah, it is such fierce competition. But if my memory serves me right, I remember that Grab has about 75% of market share, right? Which is a huge accomplishment. So could I ask how, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I'm quite honored that you know of our achievements. And that brings us to the next element. The success we have right now is due to our competitive advantage. And I suggest you use the BRIO model to determine whether your competitive advantage is sustainable or not. It must be valuable, right, imitable, and organized to be a sustainable competitive advantage. And it must also be combined with a clever market strategy and planning to be like really successful. And for our example, we cannot cite Grab as an example due to it being a business secret. So I'm sorry.
It's totally fine. What about the next elements? What do we have next?
Well, thanks to our like competitive advantage, we have grown tremendously. And as the time goes by, organizational development becomes really important. We must like structure our organization. And currently, Grab implies a matrix structure, dividing the whole company's employees into both functional departments and regional branches. And last but not least, the most important one actually, that's the management team. As the saying goes, people are our greatest asset. So even a weak business model, if it's put in the right hand, it can be improved, and a strong business model will flourish even more. So the management team is really, really important, and we place great importance on our leaders, and we value the quality of like being kind, being thoughtful, always strive for knowledge and achieve great achievements while maintaining even greater humility.
Wow, that's wonderful. Anyway, thank you so much for your sharing. I believe our audience have definitely understood more about how to build a successful business model.
Thank you. If you want to know more, you can apply to be our employee. So we can share to you some of our business secrets.
Definitely, lots of people want to after hearing sharing. Anyway, now to dig deeper into e-commerce, I suppose our audience have heard of the term B2C e-commerce, that is business to consumer e-commerce. This is actually the most well-known and familiar type of e-commerce. So as the name suggests, in this type, online businesses seek to reach individual consumers. And luckily enough, today we have a guest that is an expert in this field. Please welcome Mr. Vi Quý Vương.
Thank you, Ms. Young. I'm very glad to be here and share about B2C models. As you may know, B2C is very important in e-commerce, and this area includes a variety of models. And in this show, I bring to you 7 major ones: retailer, community provider, content provider, portal, transaction broker, market creator, and service provider. Are they familiar to you, Ms. Young?
Actually, only a few of them. I think they're new to our listeners too. So could you elaborate on each type?
Oh, okay. So let's begin with retailer. I think it's very familiar to you since it's the online version of a retail store. There are 4 main variations within this model: virtual merchant, click and clicks, catalog merchant, and manufacturer direct. Virtual merchant is where customer can shop at any hour of the day or night without leaving their home or office, like Amazon, Blue Nile, or Blue Fly. About brick and clicks, this is an online distribution channel for a company that also has physical stores, such as Walmart or Sears. Catalog Merchant is an online version of direct mail catalog. You can see Lillian Vernon. Within manufacturer direct variation, manufacturers use online channels to sell directly to customers. Uh, I can say Dell or Mattel, and the companies who use this model will gain revenue from the sales of goods.
Interesting. I think our audience have to be really focused to understand what you're saying. So that's about the first model. What about the next ones?
Oh, the second model, community provider. are sites where individuals with particular interests, hobbies, common experiences, or social networks can come together and meet online. And I'm sure you are very, very close to it. Let me say Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or Pinterest.
Yeah, very much indeed.
And then we have content provider, which offer customer newspapers, magazines, books, films, and so on. Both community and content providers apply to premium and premium offers. It means that some contents or some services are free, but some need to be charged. They can get profit from advertising, subscription fees, and sales of digital goods. One more method that mainly gains from advertising and subscription fees is portal, which includes three variations: horizontal, vertical, or vocal, and search. Horizontal offers an integrated package of content, search, and social network services. It also seeks to be a user home base, such as Yahoo, Facebook. About Voto, it offers services and products to specialized marketplace like SaleNet. Both variations can obtain profit from one more source rather than advertising and subscription fees called transaction cost. About search, we can list some names like Google and Ask. It focuses primarily on search services. Instead of subscription fees and transaction costs, its revenues from advertising and affiliate referral.
Okay, I see. That's very informative. I noticed that the term transaction broker is probably unfamiliar to the newbies like us. So can you explain that one too?
Absolutely. A transaction broker means that processors of online sales and transactions increase customers' productivity by helping them get things done faster and more cheaply. I can list some kind of transaction broker like stockbroker or travel agents. I can give you some example like E-Trade, Travelocity, or my company, Traveloka. Moreover, have you ever heard about eBay, Amazon, or Grab, Miss New?
Definitely grab is our guest today.
Yeah, oh, cool. Just for you know, they are all representative of market creator. The next model, within this model, businesses that use internet technology to create markets and that bring buyers and sellers together. And both transaction broker and market creator generate revenue through transaction fees.
Okay, now I get it. Anyway, the last one that you've mentioned at the very beginning is service provider. I think it's kind of simple to understand because of its name, but is there anything else that we have to notice about it?
Yes, I agree with you that it is quite easy to get the concept. It simply means that companies get money by selling services rather than products like Rocket Lawyer or Uber.
Oh, okay. Well, I suppose there are nothing else we have to notice. I'm very satisfied with your answer. Thank you so much for such an insightful conversation.
Thank you.
Anyway, I know our audience have already been familiar with B2C, especially after the talk with Mr. Vuong, and most of the public attention has focused on B2C, but there's another type called B2B, business to business e-commerce. And I think it would be great if we can learn about B2B as well today. That's also the reason why our team has invited Miss Mai Nguyen, who is a veteran in the B2B e-commerce industry, and she's currently the sales manager of BaseBN.
Thank you, Ms. Nhung. So it's my pleasure today to share with you about B2B e-commerce, one of the largest form and also highly potential sector in e-commerce. So today I'll introduce to you two main business models, the net marketplaces and the private industrial network. So as you can see on the screen, you can see that the former models, the net marketplaces, includes four subtypes, which are e-distributors, e-procurement, exchanges, and industrial consortia.
Well, that sounds really complicated. Can you elaborate and explain each one?
Alright, so the first type is called e-distributors. So these are firms supplying products and service to individual businesses. So actually, this e-distributor belongs to the ownership of one company only, but they aim at serving different types of customers. So you can see that is pretty like a supermarket. All right, so you can see that the e-distributor provide the customer with what we call like one-stop shopping, which means that the customer can get like all what they want in one places. So I can provide you like another key term which called critical mass, which means that like Granger, the more products and the more service they provide, the more like attractive your company is to customer. So I think maybe we move on to the other type. Alright, so the second type is e-procurement firms, which is the firm that create the digital markets and sell it to individual business. So maybe you have known about like SaaS service, software as service companies, or PaaS, like platform as a service companies. So which is like base VM. So these companies create the digital markets, the digital workstations, and sell these markets to the individual businesses. So from then they can collect the transaction fee or annual licensing fees. So if you are like interested in this sector, you can visit our company website.
Yeah, definitely. I've also heard a lot about AAS. So what about the next type, exchanges? I suppose they are like an online market for suppliers and buyers, right?
Alright, so exchange is an independent digital marketplace, so where plenty of suppliers can meet a small number of commercial suppliers. So purchasers. So they're often owned by like independent startup companies. So you can see that one of the very like famous exchanges are Barter Network. So they can make money from creating the market and collecting commissions from each transaction. So that's all around like exchanges.
Really to online buyers, right? Now I'm really curious about industry consortia. That sounds really unfamiliar. So what are they and like how do they operate?
So actually, unlike the other type, industrial consortia is like industry-owned vertical marketplace. So they serve specific industry. So these vertical marketplaces always serve a small numbers of companies with specific products and service of interest. So you can see that one of the very notable examples is Global Healthcare Exchange. So the industrial consortia are actually like much more powerful compared to exchange.
With very powerful, so large industries like automobile may have industry consortia, right? Okay, so we have one last model. What is the name again? Sorry.
Alright, so the last form of B2B e-commerce today is the private industrial network. Basically, these are the digital network that coordinate the flow of communications among the key suppliers and a large purchasing firms. So you can see the example of Walmart. So they have their own internal network to communicate on a daily basis with their suppliers. So they can monitor like when their goods are supplied, when the goods are shipped, and the delivery process. So that's all I want to say about B2B e-commerce.
Having such an informative conversation with you, one of the experts in the industry, is really an eye-opening experience. Thank you so much. So now that our followers have had a clearer grasp of the business model used by e-commerce firms, thanks to our previous guests, I think it's time for us to see the bigger picture, like how e-commerce has changed business strategies in the last decades. And I also think it's a good reference for those wanting to enter the industries. So now we will have a talk with Miss Ling Nguyen, who is currently a lecturer in e-commerce at Fort Drake University, which is also my own university. Hello, Miss Ling Nguyen.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to join the show today.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. So before getting to the point, I just want to say that although business strategy sounds like a familiar term, but many of our followers still send us a lot of questions asking us to clarify this. So would you mind redefining this concept? Because I really want to hear the definition from you, an expert.
Okay, so well, simply put, a business strategy is like a plan for making profits in a competitive environment over the long term.
Wow, very, very concise. What about in e-commerce specifically?
Actually, although the internet is a unique marketplace, the same principles of strategy and business apply. And there are five main business strategies. The first one is product or service differentiation. The second one is cost competition. Third one is scope. Fourth one is focus. And the final one is customer or supply intimacy.
Cool. Can you elaborate on each type?
Definitely. First of all, we have differentiation, which refers to all the ways producers can make their products or services unique and distinguish them from those of their competitors. E-commerce actually offers some unique ways to differentiate products and services, like the ability to personalize the shopping experience and to customize the product or service to the particular demands of each customer.
Wow. So, is there any e-commerce firms that have implemented a differentiation strategy?
Oh, well, yes. Take Amazon as an example. This e-commerce platform personalizes the shopping experience for its consumers by automatically showing the products they might be interested in based on the past purchases and searches.
Okay, okay. So the second type you mentioned is cost competition, right? I suppose that means businesses compete with each other on cost. Am I right?
Yes, the same says it all. Adopting a strategy of cost competition means a business has discovered some unique set of business processes or resources that other firms cannot obtain in the marketplace, and so they can reduce their costs of operations.
Okay. But personally, I think sometimes it's really difficult to lower costs. So, is there any other strategies that firms can pursue?
We have a scope strategy also, which means competing in all markets around the globe rather than merely in local, regional, or national markets.
Okay. So you mean like Apple?
Yes, Apple devices. Apple is a perfect example.
Okay. But again, I think not every firm has enough resources to adopt this strategy. It's prohibitive, isn't it?
It certainly is, but don't worry, there is another strategy called a focus or market niche strategy, which basically means competing within a narrow market segment or a product segment.
Okay. And we can also implement it in the e-commerce industry.
There is no doubt about it, for sure. In fact, e-commerce even offers some obvious capabilities that enable focus strategies. Firms can leverage interactivity to create highly focused messages to different market segments.
Okay. Interesting. I remember you said we have five types. So what's the last one again? Sorry, I'm a bit absent-minded.
No worries, I forget things all the time too. And the last strategy is customer intimacy, which focuses on developing strong ties with customers. Strong linkages with customers, increase switching costs and thereby enhance a firm's competitive advantage.
Okay, like Netflix, right?
Oh, yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Netflix recommends movies based on your favorite genre.
That's definitely true. Anyway, thank you so much for your sharing. I bet our audience will find it very, very helpful.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
It's my pleasure too. So that's just about wraps it up for today. Thank you so much, Miss Nido, Mr. V. Vuong, Miss Mai Nguyen, and Miss Feng Ling for spending time with us and sharing such valuable knowledge. I sincerely hope that you, as our beloved audience, also have learned something useful for your study and your career as well. If you love our talk today, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and then drop a comment down below on the topic you want us to cover in the next episode. I'm Chang Yung, and this is E-Commerce 101 Podcast. Have a nice day. Goodbye.